Hi there and welcome back to another video. My name is Desmond Soon with Spurrell and Associates with founder Josh Spurrell here, Canada's top CPA and most sought after fractional CFO and business consultant. Now in this video we're going to be talking about how do you hire the best people. How do you hire the best people is something that business owners and entrepreneurs are always seeking. And by the way, if you haven't already subscribed or checked out, we have a series here. Click this link. These are 100 videos that Josh is doing together with myself. And I've actually got manuscripts here from his book that's coming out. And these dispel the myths that business owners make. We want to save you from making those mistakes so that you don't end up in the 96%. So Josh, let's talk about how to hire the best people. We get that question a lot from the business owners that come in and are your clients, or even the people that come in for your consultation. What do you recommend to them?
Well, what I have to not recommend first is they place this great emphasis on resumes.
Right.
Okay. Business school teaches us that resumes are the be-all, end-all of hiring people. I mean, we're almost going to school for 4 years so we can put it on a resume.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But in reality, 85% of every resume you read has lies on it.
Correct, yeah.
You know, it's almost like reading a bunch of Harry Potter novels and then trying to select your employees from that, right?
Yeah.
It's not what we should do. We need to look beyond the resume, right?
How do you do that? What do you look for as a business owner? What kind of questions do you ask during an interview? Or I agree with you because there's all these YouTube videos out there about how to write a resume for the employee who's watching it, right? And you're the business owner, you're on the other side of it. Josh, what do you do for your business and how do you recommend business owners to hire?
Well, I mean, the number one thing you have to do is talk to way more people than you thought, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, most people think that you read 100 resumes and talk to 5, right? It should be the other way around. You should meet 100 people and read 5 resumes, right? You should actually switch that metric completely.
Okay.
Then when you're hiring a position, probably the best thing that you can do is a standardized skills test.
Okay.
If you're actually trying to build a scalable business, it means you're going to have multiple people doing the same position in that business. There's no reason why you cannot standardize that.
Okay.
And over time, that test becomes extremely powerful. We're talking with a car wrap company the other day, and they figured that they could get the hood of a car. Having someone wrap a whole car is, very time consuming. It's highly problematic. It's a lot of material that's going to be used. Someone could be working on an app for hours, but if they wrapped just the hood of the car, they could tell if someone had that natural
aptitude. If they had the skills, if they could communicate well, if they could meet deadlines, all the things that we don't see in a resume.
That's right.
Okay.
And it's going to feel a little bit hokey when you do it the first time.
Right.
But think of it after you've done it for 10 years.
Right.
Now you have literally seen hundreds, if not thousands of people wrap that same hood.
Yes.
And you've seen the people, at what skill level, if this person was a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, how they fit into your organization after that, right?
Yeah.
It just becomes this amazing eagle eye technique, right? It's better than any skills test. If you're constantly changing that skills test, you're not going to get that 30,000
that baseline, yeah.
You don't know that all-star that came into your organization 4 years ago and they wrapped the hood like this in this time, because it's not just the quality of how they auto-wrap that hood, it's the speed at which they did it too, right?
Right.
In our business, for example, we have been, walking through the exact same bank reconciliation. Right. I mean, it's a monthly bank statement that's, at least a decade, at least 10 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And we have every person reconcile that bank statement.
Right. And that's the skills test.
That's the
so
skills
when they
test.
come in, the interviewees that come in, after they've passed the first round, you have them come into the office. And that's one of the first things it's a doofus test.
That's
You put them on and say, hey, figure this out, and how do you do it?
That's right.
And it tells you a lot about the person.
So much, because we've seen, hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, reconcile this one monthly statement.
Yeah. What do you look for? Like, what are you looking for? What aptitudes, or, how do you know if someone is ethical, they're going to steal from you or not steal from you, or are they going to show up on time for work? How do you find those things out?
It's the standardized skills test is probably not going to test the ethics. That's something else that we can tease out, right? But the standardized skills test is going to test the natural aptitude. And they could have the best resume in the world, but they're absolutely terrible on that skills test. Well, they're going to be just as terrible when they come in on day one, and that resume, your customers are not going to appreciate that resume.
Right.
Might sound good to you, but they're going to take just as long to auto wrap that hood. They're going to take just as long to reconcile that bank statement. So we have them go through that bank statement. It's not just showing us the quality; it's their receptiveness to instructions too.
Yeah. Problem solving, maybe.
Yeah, because you're likely hiring for a significant the most positions you'll hire for are junior roles. It's just the way it works in business.
Yeah.
Management is a smaller group than the frontline workers. So usually there's going to be some instructions given to that person going through it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just the ultimate quality of the product afterwards and the speed of the product, that it took to deliver it. It's actually the receptiveness to instructions. Some people get really flustered by instructions. Some people are very receptive to instructions, and it's empowering to them. They learn, and you can see them, learning more and more the more instructions that you give them. And some people are annoyed that you're giving them instructions. Well, when you're hiring in a junior role, that's extremely problematic because you're going to be giving them instructions all the time.
Yeah, and if they don't take it very well or they don't comply, or even better yet, Josh, I think you've seen this where you give instructions, the person's quiet, they don't tell you that they don't know what they're doing, and they go and try to solve it on their own without asking for help as well too. That is another problematic red flag for you, right?
That's right. So when we are delivering these instructions, we also have to consider if we should have written instructions too.
Right. SOPs.
A lot of positions, it's not just verbal instructions or someone's going to physically come and show you something. You might have to interpret checklists, templates, and progress through that.
Do you use video instructions? Do you have written like SOPs, standard operating procedures, by the way, if you don't know SOPs?
Yeah. Video instructions, some people think that they're the be-all, end-all. They're actually slower.
Right.
Okay? People will read, a lot quicker than you can speak, right?
Right.
So if you can distill it into a checklist in writing, it's going to be quicker, right?
Okay.
That being said, some, activities are more tactile. There's more things going on where, you
need to visually show someone what it should
the video might
look
be,
like.
right? So I see sometimes people, they want to have videos for everything, or they want to have written checklists for everything. There's a time and a place for both.
Yeah, don't be too rigid. What is what works, basically, right?
People need to understand that, right? I mean, you think of the who writes the best checklists in the world? It's the airline pilots, right?
Right. Yep.
It's a quick checklist. Bang, 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 bang. They read it. Can you imagine if they had to fire up the training utility when the plane's falling out of the sky? It'd be highly problematic.
Let's go watch video number 4. Yeah, no.
It's a very dramatic example, right? But you can just see, like, in your business, that's costing you time. If you're making every checklist into a video.
Makes sense.
But the key is, if they're going to be in any sort of position where they have to interact with written documents, you probably want that standardized test to consider that and actually have some written documents, right? And it doesn't have to be the highly technical task. It's usually, this is more of a reading comprehension task or a writing task if they have to, even if they have to make notes. This might not be an office position. This could be a construction job. But if their job is to, fill out a shift report every day,
right?
Well, they better know how to write, and it better be legible, and it better be fairly concise.
Did they leave out details, or did they was it just too high level? And I know you yourself, Josh. Let's talk about your hiring process. Something that I've observed being at Spurrell & Associates was you do group interviews, and you don't just do them once. You do them like methodically every Friday.
Yes.
Right? And people get blown away by that. We see clients come in and they're struggling with raising the team, because we talked about the 3 things in the other videos, by the way, which is, companies fail because of lack of cash flow, lack of clients, and the one of the hardest ones that most of us entrepreneurs is team. So to solve that problem, you got to have a good pipeline, just like sales, of people coming in. You have group interviews, and you even have the attendees, when you select them, do writing assignments, because you can see how legible their writing is or whether they understand instructions. Can you talk about that process?
Yeah, we're separating it. So we use that group interview. That's how we have those 100 conversations, right?
Okay.
Once we've had those 100 conversations, now I actually care about your resume, right?
Right.
In our business, we're hiring something where there's a certain educational path that they have to have before they come on to be a CPA, right?
Yeah.
We want someone who can be a CPA in 3 years as opposed to 10. So we're looking that they have to have it. But I'm not concerned about reading that resume first, because I'm just reading resumes of people who are lying or people that I don't like within the first 5 minutes of meeting them.
Right.
So we want to interview them in a group setting first, then review their resumes. Then we're bringing them into the office to invest some time on them to go through the standardized skills.
And do you do this all yourself, or do you have other team members and other stakeholders, managers of your office participate in this process?
For the last the last year or so, I probably haven't done any of it actually.
Right.
I jokingly tell people in the office that I'll learn their name after a few months.
Right.
When we're invested in them, right?
Right.
You want that, right? You want your generals making the hirings, because it's also, you want them knowing that they brought you into this world, they can take you out of this world. Not that they can go around and go to the boss every time.
Yeah,
right?
and many times also those juniors are going to be working with your managers, your generals, and they're going to have the more daily interaction.
That's right. That's right. So you want them to mesh well.
Yeah.
It's less important that they mesh with you, the business owner, as opposed to more important that they mesh with their direct report, right?
And you have that in here, right? There's a quote here from Jim Collins, right?
Yeah.
Good to Great book, by the way. Get that book. You can check it out here, and I'll put it in the description as well too. But I'm going to just quote it very quickly, and Josh has it in his manuscript. Letting the wrong people hang around is unfair to the right people, as they inevitably find themselves compensating for the inadequacies of the wrong people. Worse, it can drive the best people away from your business. Strong performers are intrinsically motivated by performance, and when they see their efforts impeded by carrying extra weight, they eventually become frustrated. So that's a key thing there about you've already got A players in your company. You don't want to get them toxic or demotivated because you brought in a B player or a C player, correct?
That's right. You talked about the ethics,
Yes.
right? Where the standardized test doesn't flush out the ethics. We have them come in for a shadow day.
Yeah.
And what they don't know is the A players, they're vetting them at that time, right? They're asking probing questions, right? And it's very, very commonplace for someone to come up and say, hey, this person said they quit their last job because they couldn't show up on time, or something like that. That it was it was painfully obvious that this person was a C player, trying to get a job with a C-level effort, and the A players on the team, they don't want that. They don't want that person there.
They can sense it.
They need help. They don't need a passenger that they have to carry, right?
Yeah.
So by bringing them in, that's probably how you're going to test that cultural fit.
That's really important for business owners, because that can really kill your business. If you bring on a bad hire and it slows down your A players, it can decimate a business. Josh, there's a billionaire that I also spent some time with, and he was talking about the same thing too. And I mean, he's built, he's in the top 100 best companies to work at, right? He owns those, and his staff were telling me when they do the group hiring, he does group hiring as well too. So success leaves clues, and the receptionist and the people that the HR manager, everyone is actually the people in the office cubicles. As the person is coming in, they will normally maybe an employee will walk out and they're actually told to do this. Yeah. Drop something on the floor and see whether the people will pick it up, because everything's a test and you're being watched during that process. And so I think he's got a great process, and that's why he's got AAA players, and that's why his company is a great place to work at. Josh, what would you recommend for business owners watching this video? Because this series, we always give actionable items that are digestible and practical for business owners to implement right away. As a business consultant, what do you recommend to business owners to do in terms of hiring people?
Shift your expectations away from the resume and onto that practical test. And your goal is to funnel as many people as you can who are a good fit, so you have a funnel, a group interview per se, to put them in, and then you want to run them through that practical test and use that as your main hiring indicator, not a resume, because your customers will never pay you for the strength of the resume. They're going to pay you for the quality of the output of work at the end of the day.
Makes sense. All right, so if you found that video helpful, or if you have any additional questions, do comment in the comments below. I will get Josh or myself. I will be responding to the comments and adding more value to you. Go ahead, check out the I button up here, watch the other videos, and we'll see you in the next video.